I'm Frank Williams, and welcome to SuccessToday.tv. And as always, I'm joined by my very good friend Tom Roman, and Rich Goldberg has the night off. And Tom, today's topic is going to be thinking. Why people think the way they do. And I recently came across a study that showed most people, for most of their lives, walk around thinking a negative thought. And why do you think most people do that during their lives? Why do we walk around thinking negatively?
Well, you know, Frank, it comes to our conditioning, and I think most of us in life are conditioned to think negatively. It's amazing, but it's true. If you were to look at the modern news, say, which is something that we're going to probably discuss a lot tonight in depth, but the modern news, everything on there, it's not news, it's bad news. So what people are taking in is a reflection, and what they're thinking is a reflection of what they take in. And most people, again, if you're using these statistics again, 97%, 3%, most people just take in whatever stuff comes across their plate. Most people live in that reaction mode. So if you're taking in the general media that's out there, be it billboard, be it print, be it in newspapers, be it on the news every day, be it all these crime CSI shows out there, then you would think the world was going to hell in a handbasket. And one of the things that is such a paradigm shift or an epitome to most people is when they realize that it's just as easy to think a great thought as it is to think a bad or a negative thought. So that's one of the things we're going to discuss today. And Frank, what about you? What do you think? Why is that?
It's very true what you're saying about the newspaper and the media, how most of this is depressing and sad news. The mind can only entertain one thought at a time. And if you're watching all this garbage, or if you're surrounding yourself with people that are just constantly being negative, you can't help but fall into that pattern. And you really have to work hard to break out of it. It can be done. But one thing that surprises me is, you know, we were talking today about how the show Breakthrough with Tony Robbins was just canceled after 2 weeks. Now, I watched it, and I found it very inspiring. And I was going through the channels today, and I'm looking at all the garbage that's on these reality shows, families cursing at one another, fighting with one another. It's just amazing. These talk shows that bring on people that are just bringing the audience down. It's incredible. So I can understand why we think that, but we have to think that we can get out of it. And you know, again, it takes some time. But if you want to succeed in life, you have got to get away from that garbage, and you have got to start thinking positively.
Yeah. And Frank, I agree, and you know what it is too. This is another thing that really helps people is when they realize it's their choice what they put on. Like, you know me, I don't have a TV in my apartment.
Right.
I have a projector where I watch movies once in a while when I have friends over, right? The idea though is that we are completely, literally, almost completely, I'd say 95% in control of what we put into our minds. We all might get an irate client or somebody that cuts us off in traffic, yes. That being said, but the majority of the things that we do with our time is in our absolute control. And when people realize that the television or the news or all this stuff is simply a medium, you see? And you said before, the idea that the show Breakthrough by Tony Robbins, which I was so happy about as well, was canceled. You say, well, why was that? Why was that? Those stupid people who run the network, blah, blah, blah. They're not stupid. They have a business to run. And if people aren't watching that show, then literally their advertisers are not going to want to advertise with them. It's a ratings thing. It's objective. It's like black and white. People have to go, a business has to go where the money is, right? So if someone's not watching it, then they're not going to do it. But it's like the book The Secret says. Rhonda Byrne, you ever heard the book The Secret?
Sure.
One of the things she says in that book was that the reason the news is like it is because of the demand of the people. And I was watching the show the other day. I just happened to meet my parents, and I was sitting back, relaxed, having a sandwich. And the show that was on TV this day was, we were flipping through the channels. Got my dad a new TV for his birthday. It's one of those high-definition ones. And one of the shows that was on was a show with husband and wives. And the wives were literally upside down on the husband's back. So picture an upside-down piggyback ride where their head was literally in their butt, right? But they were running through an obstacle course, okay? My brother's a back doctor, so I might have a hypersensitivity to this, okay? But the idea is they're running with the wife's head is like this, running, and no joke, about 10 in a row, people took a spill over this one obstacle. And I'm looking at them, and I'm like, these people could literally break their neck. I mean, it's not that hard. It's like falling into a swimming pool. It's like falling straight in your head. And I'm watching it, and I said, this is absolute idiocy. It's moronic. Who would ever do this? But it gets shits and giggles out of people. It gets It gets a laugh out of people. And you know what? Those are the things, that's what we got to learn to take control of our time. We have to learn that we say, you know what? I'm only going to put into my mind the things that I want in my mind. They're going to help me think the thoughts that I want to think. They're going to enable me to speak the way I want to speak and to take the actions that I want to take. And when people realize that that is in their control, it changes their lives. One of the examples that we give a lot in our presentations is the idea of we think of the Holland Tunnel, the Lincoln Tunnel, any of the great tunnels throughout, the Channel in Boston, or is that the Channel in Boston, or I don't even know. Is that in Europe? I don't even know. But the idea is that any of the great tunnels that go under a river, there's always these big exhaust fans that come out of them, right? Anywhere you go. But the Holland Tunnel in particular has these two big exhaust fans. We know we take our boat by there all the time, and every time I go there, it reminds me of this analogy. But the exhaust fans pump out all of the carbon monoxide that's pumped out by the cars that go through the tunnel. So there's obviously tons and tons of carbon monoxide that comes out of there every day. And I ask the audiences all the time, I say, if you had a choice to get a little square inside of your living room this big that would constantly pump in 100% of that exhaust every day, would you do it? People are like, of course not. It'd be bad for my health. It'd be bad for my family's health, physically. Breathing in all that carbon monoxide. Who would ever do that, right?
Right.
But people do the same thing every single day with their mental health. And I like to think about these movies. Like you watch any of the movies, like Independence Day. You watch movies like Air Force One. These like great blockbuster movies where some kind of big event is happening, and the President of the United States is watching the news like everybody else. And you look at it and you think it's an accepted way. Like, hey, you wake up in the morning, turn your TV on. People don't realize that we're conditioned to do this. Now, I'm not saying that as some kind of conspiracy theorist or something like that, but recognize these corporations are owned by the news companies. They're all owned by three big companies. So the idea is it's very subliminal how you're programmed, what you think about. And just like the show Anthony Robbins' Breakthrough was canceled, it's simply a reflection of the demand. And demand is that 97% of the people out there don't want to think for themselves. They want to plug in their umbilical cord anywhere they can to get a little bit of a high, mentally, go there, watch something sensationalist, and avoid the activity of thinking. And this is the essence of all of our presentations that we give, is to help people, A, think about what they want to think, and then take actions to make those thoughts real. And that's the whole idea. And the idea is that it's a reflection of the demand. So it's not going to change in the very near future. Will it ever change? I don't really know. And frankly, not like I really care. Right. Because all you can do is your part on the development of it. And we're doing our part by presenting good, positive, forward-thinking stimuli and bringing it to people that really want to watch it. So there's 3% of people out there, over 6 billion people, that's 180 million people globally that may watch this show. And I hope that every one of those people gets a lot out of it. And hopefully maybe they'll recommend it to a couple people that are in that 97% that might get more out of it. Frank?
Sure. You're absolutely right, Tom. It's the media that controls these shows that are just absolute garbage. Mm-hmm. But if you think about it, you're the one sitting there watching it. Mm-hmm. You're making them money to watch it. Like I said before, watch a family argue, or watch somebody on TV that is just talking negatively about their lives and how nothing's going to get better. It's just mind-boggling that people would sit in front of the boob tube and say, wow, this is a pretty good show. Or the next day at the office at the water cooler go, hey, did you see that woman curse at her daughter or this or that? Are you kidding me? Mm-hmm. And I have to tell you, I do to some extent, and this is not all families, but I think parents need to take a bigger role in what their kids watch, because it's incredible when I listen to these kids and what they're allowed to watch. No wonder why we're going, in the negative. Parents, you got to put the pants back on. You're the authority in the house. You have to be a part of their lives, your children's lives. Yes, we work a lot of hours, and sometimes it's just not that easy to do. But it's your responsibility. Everybody wants the easy way out. Oh, let's think. What's the easy way out? No. Sometimes you got to go through the hard stuff, and you got to say to your kid, look, you shouldn't be watching this garbage. I mean, I'm amazed at what parents allow their kids to watch. No wonder why these kids are, fighting against their parents or not as willing to do what they ask. It's amazing.
Mhm.
If I was watching something on TV years ago, my father didn't want me to watch, he'd come over and turn it off.
Yep.
That was it. I didn't question it.
Yep.
My father was, he's the authority in the house.
Yep.
But these kids, I mean, we as parents have to take that responsibility and say, hey, maybe I need to slow down a little bit with my work. Maybe I need to get involved a little bit more. What are my kids watching that they're thinking this way or that they're acting this way?
Yep.
It's incredible. But we sit there and we watch this garbage for a half hour, for an hour, and we accomplish nothing. Now, think about it. If you took 1 hour every night to focus on your future, instead of watching the boob tube, and again, some family or some crazy show that's going to make you laugh or, just wow you to death there for a couple minutes because something stupid was said or something outrageous was done, take an hour, think about your life and what are you going to do to make your life better. Forget the boob tube, because the boob tube, the only life you're making better is the people on that screen.
Mm-hmm. You're right, and you said it perfectly. It's funny, every time you watch television, recognize, and you remind me of a great point, the people on the screen are living their dreams while you're watching them live their dreams.
Absolutely.
And you know what's funny? When you watch those shows, how many times, or even movies, how many times have you ever seen people sitting in front of a TV in a movie? They're not. They're living their life. They're out there doing stuff. It doesn't exist. And you know what? It's funny you said, Frank. There are people that are what I would call seekers. Okay, seekers, that people that seek the wisdom, people that want the wisdom, people that are out there that are hungry for the ideas and the knowledge that will change their life. And I think that those are the people to whom we're speaking now. And if you've gotten this far in the show, I commend you and am very happy and pleased to be here with you, because some of the ideas that maybe we share will help you along your way. The idea is, and also let's get back to the concept of thinking. Most people don't want to think. It's a very laborious activity. They think, okay? They think that by them saying, hey, listen, how are things going? It's all right. Things are all right, because they want to fit in with people. They think that by going for their goals, that other people are going to somehow alienate other people, or by them shining brightly, they're going to make other people feel bad. It's not the case at all. And we get back to this point over and over and over again. Just like push-ups, we have to massage that mental muscle of ours in our goal-setting mechanism. But the idea is that you shine brightly, you inspire others to shine brightly more than you can imagine. By getting to it and sticking to your ideas and your goals, by thinking for yourself, and it's not that hard to do. You said, why do most people think negatively? Because that's all they know how to do. And I'll be forthcoming with you. I don't think most people choose that just by default. I don't think they have any of the knowledge or skills on how to do it. Right. We're taught in school how to follow a syllabus. And like we mentioned last week, you get through a textbook like this thick by following the syllabus. But the syllabus is given to us by our teacher, right? So we're never taught to define the syllabus. What subject are you going to study? Yeah, you sign up for a course at the beginning of the semester, but they're telling you what to do and what courses to do. You read the book, you take the test, and you get through it. But why don't we create our own syllabus? Why don't we create our own ideas, create our own goals, create our own life? And that's what separates that 3% from the 97%. So am I shocked that show was canceled by Tony Robbins? And to me, I was upset at first about it, but
sure.
When I really thought about it, I said, no, I'm not upset, because 3% of the people out there just reinforces that number on a real scale. 3% of the people out there want information like this. 3% of the people out there are seeking the good information. And 3% of the people out there are going to continue to own the majority of the wealth. And if you want to own the majority of the wealth, if you want to make your life into more than just a scramble to pay your bills and a scramble to survive, think for yourself, set your goals, and every day work on them. And another thing that I want to get into, yes, watching the ball game and watching movies, that's also watching TV as well, so you know, okay? Not just watching these reality shows and all that. Whenever you're sitting in front of a screen, you're watching TV. Frank?
No, you're absolutely right, Tom. I'm an avid baseball fan. I love watching the game.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to think about your future. Time goes by like that. My daughter's 24. My little daughter's 24 years old. I can't tell you where the years have gone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you have to think about, where am I headed in the future? What am I going to do today that's going to make a better day or a better future for myself? You have to think constantly. What do I have to do? How am I going to get there? Instead of sitting there and watching it, I'm not telling you not to watch it. Of course, we all need to kick back once in a while and enjoy watching some of those shows. But your focus, your thinking should be on, where am I going in the future? What is it I want for myself? What is it I want for my family? Or even what is it I want for my community if you're involved in your community? What can I do? What ways can I think of that are going to make things better instead of sitting there day after day after day watching this stuff? I mean, I'm floored. It's unbelievable.
We got to look at it like this. Derek Jeter makes $100,000 a game. That's about 10,000 plus per inning. Okay, so every time he goes at the bat, once, twice, fields a couple plays, and God bless him. The guy's the man. He goes out there and really performs. I mean, nothing against it, but you're watching it, and the way he's paid is through the ticket sales, yes, but through the endorsements and the advertisements on the TV. Everything you watch on the television is meant for you to watch those commercials in between. So that's one part of it, okay? Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing. And realize that either you're living your dream or you're watching someone else live theirs. Very, very, very simple delineation, okay? And the idea is if you, like Frank said, were to come home, and the funny part is now that the television is a centerpiece of most people's homes. And we all see it every day. Parents say, I want my kids to have a better life than I do. What do they do when they get home? They clop on the couch like this, and they turn it on.
Bring out the snacks.
Bring out the bonbons and hang out. The idea is if you look at it, and you watch a movie like Kate and Leopold, great movie, but Leopold's from the past, and he comes from the 1860s or something like that, comes to the future. And he's singing, playing the piano, but there were skills there that were involved, charisma that's involved. And again, like we always talk about, the charisma and simple activities of telling a story to your family, sitting around a fire, developing those interpersonal skills. You see, we were never allowed to have a video game system in our house, Nintendo or Sega or anything like that, because we had businesses. I mean, frankly, it wasn't even, if we had it, it would collect dust. We were out interacting with customers, serving, right? And what is the idea, this service? And we'll get back to this over and over again, because again, like the mental push-ups, the greatest among us shall serve. And television and the media is just the modern method or the modern means of the purveyors of amusement, the people out there that are trying to get your money, trying to get your time in order for you to watch their shows, watch their commercials, and buy their products. Okay, ultimately, that's the goal of it, okay? Which is fine. It's a noble and great ambition, because without sales, without that, we wouldn't have any economy. So we need that. I mean, it's necessary. But the idea is, what are you doing with your time? What are you thinking in your mind? Where is your life going? If you want your kids to have a better life than you did, the idea anymore is not to just send them to college. It's give them the real skills that they'll be able to accomplish their dreams. It's to teach them there's much more out there than watching television. Why don't we go for a walk, these simple things. Let's go talk to some people. Let's develop those interpersonal skills that you can actually not only hold the job when you get older, which I think is kind of that whole concept of having a job working for a company. I mean, we all know this. I mean, this is like modern rhetoric now, like modern, cliche, if you will, that people don't really have a job that they work for the company for their whole life. The idea is that you have to have this well-versed variety or broad breadth of talents. And in that, interpersonal skills, or eye contact with people. I mean, how many kids do you meet today that don't have eye contact? And it's not, and there's certain things that they say, but there's better hand-eye coordination when you play video games until you throw the kid a ball and he can't catch it. It's like, no, I'm not kidding about this either. It's for real. But the idea is you take control of your life, and this, the only thing we can do is control our thinking. And with that, we lead others to make them want to control theirs by who we are in our life, the act of becoming, the very person we become. And around us, the world crystallizes into a magnificent masterpiece, or literally a state of disarray and entropy, where things are out of control. And people see that in you, and people gravitate, and that's real leadership right there. Leadership, in my opinion, like the old saying, like in the Bible, it says, greatest. What was in the Bible? It said, true friend lay down his life for his friend. What was that one? It's John, I think, 13 something. It's when you lay down your life for your friend is like a real great thing. But the idea is that what that really means, in my opinion, is the ability for one to live their dream. And this living of your dream is a laying down of your life in terms of what seems like these small petty sacrifices of, hey, listen, I'm going to work on my book tonight, or my course, my manual, or our show. in lieu of what else? Maybe Monday Night Football. I mean, think about it. What else would we be doing with our time right now? We'd probably be, going to the bar with friends. No, instead we're serving other people, using our unique talents, and providing, hopefully, some good mental stimulation for people to help improve their lives. And in the end, we don't know who watches it, where you are, what you're doing, but we know that will come back to us multiplied because of the service we give. And it's your choice to do the same thing. Are we ever going to change the entire world? Who knows? I read once it said the first sign to a nervous breakdown is thinking your work will change the world. So no, you don't want to put that pressure on yourself. But the idea is you just do your part, what you're inspired to do today, and you see it through to the end. And most people, 97% of the people, as we saw by the evidence of the show getting shut down, most people don't think that way. And all it takes for you to do that, to unplug, to literally get into the upper echelons of civilization, is to think for yourself. Every day we hear these rags to riches stories. Every day we hear people coming from the ghetto or parents, people that worked in steel factories. And you know what's funny? You get back to the basics, man. You look at it, and it makes me laugh because I still have this work ethic, and you know me. I'm a hard worker, and I know some people that are too. I know you are. I know our director is too. But most people think that they put in a hard day's work. And you look back at the days when people were coal miners and just factory workers, right? People would work from literally 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. and come home and literally just have lunch. There were no protein bars. You have a snack at 10. Right. None of that. It was called, you worked from 6 a.m. shift at freaking 12. You'd be sitting on the gurneys in the building, looking over the city, while you're bolting a rivet into the building, making it stand. But you worked your butt off. And nowadays, people think they're working when they're on the computer and they're looking at Facebook. And people just realized if they had the work ethic to plan their goals and objectives, they could probably get the job done in 4 hours, and in the other 4 hours work on their own projects if they have a job. But if you have your own business, then you could crush it. You can get into it, start at 8 in the morning, and go to 5 p.m. and get more done in a day than you used to get done in a week. And that's another thing, but that comes with your thinking. You have to be motivated for that. Set your goals, think about your goals constantly, and every day progressively keep working on your goals. Frank?
Very good, Tom. Being very interested in the mind and the power that it has to help us transform our lives. I came across an interesting fact the other day. The mind can compose more thoughts than all of the atoms in the known universe, which is absolutely incredible. And yet, for most people, most of their lives, walk around with a negative thought. Mm-hmm. So, we've got this wonderful computer, but are we going to put in the software that makes us think the right way? Or are we going to put the software in that's going to cause us virus after virus after virus? So what you think is what you become.
Yep. Frank, so accurate, so accurate. And I actually had a conversation with a guy once as an actor. I was out one night at a place in Princeton called Triumph, and I was sitting by a gentleman, and he goes, we were talking about the exact subject of thinking, right? And he says, well, you know what? I don't want everyone in the world to succeed because there wouldn't be enough ideas. There wouldn't be enough for them to do for them to be creative thinkers. We need also people to work and do the jobs, obviously. But he said there wouldn't be enough opportunity for the rest of us who do think. And then I read a book actually before that, but I cited this book and I said exactly what you just said. There are more laws in the universe than we can comprehend. And the analogy the author gave in this book was that it's like a child walking into a library. And every book in that library, picture the biggest library you can imagine in. Every book in that library is in a different language. Okay? So the child can't read yet. But every book in that library is a different language. And every line in every one of those books is a different law of the universe, like electricity or relativity or the law that buoyancy, these other laws that allow ships to float, these things like that. But these laws that literally are just to yet be discovered. The universe is so unknown. We only can see so far into the universe, only 13 billion light years in each direction. It's unbelievable how little we know. Yet people don't have the belief that the ideas are out there.
Right.
And if they think for themselves, they will be inspired. And the essence of it is just take that inspiration today and manifest it and bring it to others. Just bring it out there. Be the best self you can be and think for yourself. Stop letting other people think for you. It's so easy. Shut off the TV, but don't just shut it off and sit there. No, set your goals. Set them. Write them down. Think about them constantly. If you wanted to learn a foreign language, you could learn it in like a month, I bet, if you immersed yourself in it. Think about it. It's just the ABCs. Shut it off. Go do something more productive that you always want to do, something that will fulfill you. I joined a mountain biking club recently, and I love it. I go out once, twice a week on a mountain bike now. It's a wonderful experience. And you know what? I never really did it before, but I had the time, and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to go out there and do it, And then now, I'm even more productive than I was before. You get back from the ride, the whole time you're thinking, you're jamming on your bike, you're riding, you're like next to people that are pretty hardcore. It's kind of like a Rocky movie, You're on it, you're jamming. And you know what? You get back and you're more fired up than you were. You don't even want to go to sleep anymore, And it's funny because that's the mentality to have. And again, product of your surrounding. If you have people that you hang out with that are into watching TV or into that or into bonbons, hell, you're going to be into that too. But you get into people that are healthy, that want to hang out, that want to go out and be productive and talk about goals. I'm involved in a few new projects now that I just committed to that are going to produce some really cool products over time, intellectual property. And it's really exciting to be held accountable, to see what we're capable of in this short time we have on Earth,
Yeah,
So,
right. If I could just say one other thing to give our viewers a tip, and we spoke about this in one of our previous shows. You really have to watch the language that comes out of your mouth.
Yes.
If you're constantly talking negative, I can't, it's not going to happen, I wish, you're absolutely right. It's not going to happen. So you have to stop yourself, you have to catch yourself, and you have to start saying, I can and I will. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be easy. Nothing's easy. But the reward is on the other side of breaking through that fear or breaking through that negativity. Mm-hmm. I will do this. I will get it done. I can do it.
Yep.
You start, as parents, you start saying those things in front of your children. Your children are going to start saying,
yep.
I can, I will do this, mm-hmm. I'm capable of doing this. Mm-hmm. So you really have to watch the language that you use, not only for your children, but for yourself.
Yes.
Regardless of the challenge that you have. You will find a way. Not, maybe I can, I don't know if I will. No, you will find a way, and you can succeed in any challenge that you experience in life. It may not turn out the way you want 100%, but you will conquer it, you will defeat it, and you will become a better person for it.
And Frank, I can't thank you enough for sharing that because I learned so much just hanging out with Frank.
Oh, we both.
Yeah, and you're so right. It's and this is one of the things we talk about in our presentations. I don't know where it came up, but we kind of like share the ideas. It just comes out at the right time. But the idea is when you look at someone and their voice and their body language and what they do is a window to their thinking. Not a mirror, a window. You see right into it. Someone says, oh man, I can't, like you're saying, like, how you doing? I'm not good at that. I could never do that. They're timid and they're hunched over. You can tell what they think. You say to the same person, how you doing? They say, I'm doing great. The whole different impression, huh? What are you up to? And just keep cranking, keep hitting it. But it's not just like a positive attitude of thinking that. Yeah, the physiology and the vocabulary and leads to psychology, all that kind of stuff. Yes, that's one part of it. But on the other end, Earl Nightingale, it's been said for years, but it says success is the progressive realization of a worthy goal or ideal, right? So the idea is if you're on the pursuit of your goal, you are successful. You're as successful with the day that you own the $1 million restaurant as you are the day you have the idea to start it and you plot a course to go out there and make it happen. And you see, if you ask that person that, just as an example, that's on the road to starting that successful restaurant, that maybe was a cook at one point or was a chef or maybe just a person that really had a great idea for an awesome nightclub or whatever the idea was, and you ask them, hey, listen, how you doing? That person, if they are really on that path, they're going to say, I'm doing great because I am on the path to success. You see? And that is the essence of all the psychology. You set the goal, you plot the course, and every day you progressively work at it. And I'll tell you what, when you have that fuel in your body, that fuel in your mind, all of a sudden your life takes on a whole new meaning. You're going to have juice that you never even knew existed before because you're going to pop out of bed in the morning and put your feet in your shoes. But it's not something that you just magically get up and do or on a superficial level of, hey, I'm going to talk positive, rah, rah, rah. That's a part of it. Yeah. You talk to someone that just set their goals last night and they wake up in the morning and they're still facing the challenges they may have faced financially or family problems and stuff like that. But you know what? As long as they're on the pursuit of that goal, they're as successful that day as the day they reach the goal itself. And most people, they're what are called wandering generalities. They have no idea where they're going, so any direction will take me there. Hey, what's going on today? What's on the news today? What happened? Hey, you know what? People, a lot of times you hear things like, you have to stay informed. You have to. You know what I realized a long time ago, Frank? it was post 9/11 actually. It was about 2 years after 9/11. After 9/11, my first business went out of business, and then from there I was heavily in debt. I had to work a few years full time in corporate sales in order to overcome that debt and paid it all back. And and I realized that I was watching the news a lot before as my business failed, and I was concerned with what all these other people thought, what was going on halfway around the world. And then I started forgetting it all, and I just started focusing on what I had to do that day and doing a kick-butt job at it every single day, just going out there and rocking it and serving my clients the best I possibly could that day, making their lives better before I got to them than after I left them. Their lives are better through that interaction or that process. And you know what? The reality I learned is our universe is what surrounds us, okay? And most people, they're concerned with fiction. I don't know what the percentage is, but most of the stuff you see is fiction. Because I know people around the world, and there are legitimate stories to cover, and I'm not saying anything bad about the organizations that promulgate this information at all, because they're simply supplying where the demand is, okay? There are legitimate news, like unfortunately the earthquake in Haiti or the tsunami a few years ago, 9/11. These type of major events where journalism is really required. But the majority of stuff is just sensationalist media, making it very exciting, like you're saying. People cursing at each other on TV, sensationalist to get people intrigued. And the goal of it is to shock you, to literally, well, how many more guts can we see on a CSI show,
right,
and to sadden you into watching it, to bring you into that state, to get you into that trance. And I just ask that people maybe take the opportunity here to really examine their life and say, do I want to think for myself? Do I want something better in the future? Perhaps I'm going to just set some goals. I'm going to think about those goals as if they're already accomplished. I'm going to become in the present moment as if those goals are accomplished. And then I'm going to go on my life. If you ask me how I'm doing great. So the goal of this episode today is to help you think for yourself. Set your goals. Develop a plan to accomplish them. And every single day, keep that in mind. Frank?
Just a final thought. All of our viewers are exceptional individuals who can achieve incredible things in life. The difference between an average person and an extraordinary person is that little extra, and that's all it takes. Tom, if you would, before we go, just tell our viewers if they have any topics they'd like us to discuss or any questions, where can they reach us?
Yes. If you have any questions or topics, please email us to info, @successtoday.tv. I'll be happy to answer your questions.
On behalf of Tom Roman, I'm Frank Williams. Thank you so much for being with us. We'll see you next time.
Thank you very much.